Oh, is it happening, Mike?
It's happening.
Yes.
This is our very first Games and God conversation where we play video games and talk about hot button issues.
Yeah.
So, Adam, what's our game today?
Streets of Rage.
Streets of Fury.
It's
based on Streets of Rage.
Streets of Rage is the real game.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Streets of Fury. Sorry. It's a similar kind of side-scrolling beat 'em up. There are a lot of unique, quirky heroes. There's a lot of really unique, quirky villains, and it's all around a good indie title.
Mm-hmm. And while we're playing this game, we're going to be discussing the topic: is divorce ever acceptable? Now, some premise behind this. There's some key Bible verses that explain why divorce is not acceptable, and the church has used that to take. They kind of took that to either mean no way, no how should you ever get a divorce, even in the worst circumstances. That's the extreme view.
Mm-hmm.
And the other side says yes, if person A does this, or this, then it's acceptable. We're going to talk about the Bible verses which inspired these kind of thoughts and actions and see what we can get out of it. But first, I'm going to pick my player. Adam, why don't we discuss what these hot topics are?
While playing as Jackknife.
Right.
Oh no, I gotta jump in.
Yeah, you gotta jump in.
So yeah, there we go. I will play my favorite Dr. Klaus.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so hot button topic, and I think sadly a one that is really prevalent in today's society. Divorce, like what is the statistic of
60%?
Yeah, it's gone up. Of all marriages in the United States or just in the world. And in divorce, and the statistic is even it's still just as high even within Christian marriages or professing Christian marriages.
We are not immune to it.
So unfortunately, working in campus ministry, like a lot of the students that we're working with come from broken homes, and that's just not an ideal situation. But I mean, just to start off, I don't think I didn't grow up with divorced parents, so I can't really speak to that from a personal standpoint. But what about you, Mike? Did you?
Well, no. We've all had those friends who were victims to their parents having to get separated, and you can see how it's affected them in some way or another. You've probably seen it a few times in your college ministry.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say is some of the key characteristics of a child growing up in a divorced home?
I think it's really hard because it's we're talking about individuals here, and we're trying to paint with broad strokes. And I know some people are incredibly well adjusted that are really serving and loving God, and they didn't let their circumstances find you. But then I also know some other people that are completely broken, and they're not able to. They have trust issues. They have self-esteem problems, and just awful, terrible things. But I think most common that I've found is just feelings or self-worth issues. I think not believing that they're either they feel like they were not good enough for their parents, and they feel responsible for parents' divorce, or they have an inflated self-worth because their parents, in an effort to keep them in the family unit, told them that they were wonderful and special, and that whole shebang. So a lot of self-identity issues, and not being able to trust. I think that's the big thing, and I think consequently also having a problem not accepting love from other people. You know what I mean? Like in a healthy way. And be like, like I can be like, hey Mike, I love you, and be like, thanks man, I really love you too. But sometimes
it seems conditional.
Yeah, exactly. And like obviously, like we both know that our love for each other isn't conditional, but a lot of times these students, they'll be like, oh, you only love me when I buy you coffee, or when you spend time with me, or
when's that love gonna leave?
Exactly. Or why didn't you immediately text me back?
Yeah.
I thought you loved me. Like you're just gonna leave me like everyone else.
Yeah.
So so those are kind of the typical kind of things that I run into. And what about you?
Well, that's from the child's standpoint and how it affects them. The stigma within the church is that when you hear someone got divorced, your mind automatically goes to, well, who gave up? Who quit? And, that's kind of, we kind of turn our noses to when someone gets divorced without fully knowing what they went through and, knowing what the situation was.
Right.
Though the Bible does have some pretty harsh language for those who consider divorce.
Yeah, it's true. Malachi talks. I think it's probably one of the more common references of the Malachi 2:16, where it says, "The man who does not love his wife but divorces her, says the Lord God of Israel, covers his garments with violence, and so guard yourself in spirit, be not unfaithful." So like this idea that like God hates divorce, or which is true. Like God designed marriage to be representative of His love and His love for the church and us. So whenever marriage divorce, it's very it goes against His design for us.
Right, and Jesus kind of echoes that.
Yes.
Anyone who gives us a divorce certificate is turning their wife into an adulterer or turning their husband into an adulterer, unless it's from, marital unfaithfulness, which we'll talk about. Marital unfaithfulness uses the Greek word porneia, and porneia literally means a love relationship that's illegal, so something that's outside of God's bonds of marriage. I see you picked Bob Lennon.
It looks like an idiot child.
Yes.
That's the reason I picked him, actually.
Yes. Well, as I was saying...
Yeah, sorry.
I got stuck on Bob Lennon, and he has an axe. So anything with, Jesus says anything without God's seal of approval on the marriage is grounds for a marriage that is not... Well, it looks like we died. But anyway, this is grounds for, and what he would say would be off limits. Now, what that means, and probably means, is things that engage like men marrying men, women marrying women, men marrying children. But it also could go into the more emotional, more emotional, physical abuse, vocal abuse, yelling abuse. Yeah. Now the question is, if God is so against divorce, is there ever a good time to implement it, or is it something that 60% of the world is just making a huge mistake on?
Yeah, and I think that there is there's one situation that you alluded to where it's where divorce is okay, and it's you referenced the Matthew passage. It's Matthew 9, where it says, "I say to you, whoever divorces his wife except for sexual immorality, and there is nothing but adultery." So yeah, so I think that that caveat, like that is the only acceptable caveat for divorce.
Yeah.
According to Jesus.
No.
But
many churches have taken it at different ways. For example, the Wesleyan Church, divorce is just like it's absolutely like it's horrible, and if it were to happen to you, there's actually a reconciliation process you actually go through with the church to kind of become whole again. Some churches do that, while others take that verse to say that there's a list of things that are grounds for a divorce. Let's say you're in danger. And I think we can all agree that if any spouse is in any kind of danger,
like if there's abuse, sexual, like get out. That is not, that is not. Like God first and foremost wants to provide for you and care for you. Part of that, like, is you have agency to get yourself out of that situation.
Right.
Like obviously, like if that is not healthy for you or your children. If you are a mother or a father and not abusing your children, obviously, like God wants you to leave that situation.
Because we see that as negligence of vows, which is marital unfaithfulness in a form.
Yeah.
So that's good. Now, the tricky part is where you kind of stand on the, do you leave this person forever? Let's say they're being spiritually, emotionally, physically abusive, God forbid. Do you just separate yourself from them and you still say, hey, I'm still married to this person, I'm just praying and waiting on God to fix and change them, I want to be good to my marital vow? Or do you leave them for good? And some people say that the former one is like the truest act of love because you're still respecting your bond of marriage. You're just putting yourself in a safe space.
Yeah.
Others say, you should leave them. He screwed up or she screwed up. Where do you kind of fit in on that?
I think ultimately a part of the gospel is the idea of forgiveness and reconciliation. And I think that applies to all aspects of life. Like whatever wrongs have been done to you or done against you or that you've done. Like the goal as a Christian should always be forgiveness and reconciliation, just like Christ loved and forgave us and re-engaged us in conversation and re-engaged us in relationship. I think that there's no better example of that than the book of Hosea, where kind of God has the prophet Hosea to marry a prostitute who then engages in she's not faithful to Hosea. And by the rule or by the guidelines given to us by Jesus, like that is grounds for divorce. But like that was still sanctioned by God, and in order to show have an example for us of what it's like for Christ to sin against. But he still didn't, like in that circumstance, tell Hosea, oh yeah, you need to leave her for a time and go to a space away from her and just pray about it. He said no, like you need to actively seek her and pray and ask for her forgiveness and take her back. I think that ultimately is part of God, that we would forgive and reconcile with those that have wronged us. And I don't think that forgiveness is conditional.
Yeah.
And I don't know how controversial this is, but when we talk about forgiveness, it's not like you have to God has forgiven us of everything. So that means, like, if someone were to, like, God forbid, like, murder my brother, like, I'm still called to forgive and love that person.
Right.
And, like, if I was to get married and, like, my spouse cheated on me, like, I'm still called to love and forgive that person and to be, be engaged in that relationship.
Right. And, every divorce story is different.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
I mean, God forbid if it happened to you, or maybe it has happened to you and you're kind of in the wake of that. And obviously you knew what you were doing at the time. But, I think the story, we definitely want you to leave thinking that there is life after divorce, there is redemption. If that has happened to you. I don't know, Adam. Do you have any closing thoughts? Thoughts and cots?
So the redemptive power of Christ will go beyond any broken relationship. Like, God will restore any and all relationships. I think that the church forgets that, and there's nothing worse than, like, in a church, like, community where someone has been stigmatized as, the person is next, because that's not that's been forgiven by Christ. And I think divorce and sexual immorality and mental illness kind of have this stigma as, like, big sins, like the unforgivable sins. That'll, like, that disqualify you from God's favor. But in actuality, that's all sin. And just as God can forgive us for, like, lying or gossiping, which for some reason people say aren't as big a sin as divorce, which is false. And just as much as there's, like, love and reconciliation in that God, so too is there in we don't we're not defined by, like, sin any longer. We're walking. We see that one of the John with the woman at the well who is married 5 times, divorced who knows how many times, living in adultery, but God still forgives her, and not only forgives her, but uses her as an integral part of the ministry, part of marriage. Hundreds of people, like villages, come to know the redemptive power of So our sin is never bigger than God, and there's love and reconciliation.
Absolutely. I would just kind of close with, whatever side of divorce you're on, whether it was, you didn't want it, but he wanted it, you didn't want it. Whatever angle it is, there's always a recovery, like Adam said, a redemption that's needed. That's why God kind of warns us to say, use divorce as an absolutely last resort, or don't even make it a resort if you can avoid it, because there's a lot of damage in it, and there's a lot of recovery that's needed.
Don't get faced, you get slapped up.
Good defensive. I just want to make totally clear. We acknowledge that. But no sin is greater than.
Well, anyways, if you want to continue this conversation, drop us a line on our YouTube, drop us a line on our Facebook at Mike and Adam's Dreams and Feelings. This is an experimental podcast, but we think it's going to go in some great big places. Anyways, so thank you very much.
See you guys.